If we speak now to expert Mpumelelo Zikalala, a very good evening to you. Thank you so much for speaking to us, Mr. Zikalala. So, we've just been speaking about what is real, what is conjecture, but, you know, we spoke to the ATM earlier on, and I was saying there's a point of view that those who are looking at the ultimate consequence of this, what they see is possible regime change, opposition parties eventually winning and getting their way by removing President Ramaphosa. What are the legal implications of this? The president's lawyers have said that they are challenging this. We saw the matter was before the Constitutional Court recently, but he was denied direct access.
I think for now it's mainly focused on the law enforcement agencies to say yes, no information that comes about. I think they would have been privy to this information if they were really prudent in the manner in which they've investigated this particular matter. But for the parliament and also for the parliamentarians, it all says to them, please try and look at this matter again. There's certain information which is coming in, which proves instances of some type of law breaking that is taking place. Yes, we do understand that based on what SARS has confirmed, it does not mean that the president is guilty or participated in any criminal matters. However, it just places a bit of a dark cloud as to how things are supposed to be when it comes to the number one citizen of the country. And let's remember why we are focusing on all of this, which when you look at Section 96 dealing with the conduct of cabinet members, of which the president is a member, by the way, it is very clear that you cannot undertake any other paid work. Don't put yourself in instances in which there will be potential conflict of interest with your private and public life, and don't use information and state resources for our own benefit. If there are going to be allegations or prima facie evidence that proves that, it must be probed in a proper manner, which is what the commission or the committee actually suggested. It said, we do not have adequate powers to investigate this type of matters. Can you please get individuals or a committee which is going to have much more superpowers than what we have to investigate this matter? And this type of letter that was received today would have been presented by SARS in that particular committee.
Does it also strengthen the opposition party's call for an ad hoc committee to be established by Parliament? I mean, the Section 89 panel concluded that the president committed a serious violation of Section 34 of PRECA relating to corrupt activities and serious violation of Section 96(2)(a). But as you mentioned earlier on, the oath of office, the appearance thereof of wrongdoing is something very serious. So the opposition parties are speaking very definitively of a president who has acted in a rather shady manner, who has hid not only the proceeds of illicit money brought into the country, but that SARS is actually saying because the funds weren't declared by the person who brought it in, president didn't either, that they both share complicity.
I think maybe let me start with this one. That would be a little bit difficult to prove because it would then place a duty on you and I, if you are store owners, when a person comes with that sum of money, the first question would be, did you declare this amount of money as SARS? I think what the law says is that you must keep a record of certain funds which are coming into your establishment, so that when the time comes to go and report in that particular law institutions or regulatory institutions, it's easier for you to account as to where you get that money from. So on that basis, then I would hold the president accountable. But other than that, I would say the president is, let's call it an innocent bystander for this particular process. What is more important is what the opposition parties are saying. Let's not go for a full throttle impeachment proceedings. Let's start with an ad hoc committee which is going to look into these particular matters. I think by this time they've probably learned a thing or few in terms of the type of powers in which you're supposed to give to this ad hoc committee. So don't create a committee with no teeth. Don't create a committee which does not have any power to subpoena anyone or certain documents. Don't create a committee which is at the end of the day is going to provide very basic recommendations which are not binding or are not really applicable or persuasive to parliamentarians when they need to take decisions. If you go for an ad hoc committee, you are providing opportunity for the president to clear his name, at the same time making sure that parliamentary processes have been protected. And the most important part is the alternative party principle being the right to be heard being provided. Let's also remember in this particular proceedings that It is the president that drafted the affidavit that told us all as to what had happened within Phala Phala Farm. So this is not something which is being insinuated from somewhere else. It is direct evidence from the president, the person who participated, that has created all these situations and certain ideas which have been planted. So to allay those fears and to be able to answer one and for all to those allegations, I would say maybe the Democratic Alliance is correct in terms of saying let's create an ad hoc committee, and if you are really innocent, you can be able to go to the committee and prove yourself as innocent within that particular committee to be created.
Just in terms of what the president's lawyers had planned to mount as a defense, the SARS statement, what does it do to that? For instance, their lawyers had said that, the president is the subject of a conspiracy and smear campaign to take him out of office on the strength of speculation and conjecture, and that Judge Sandile Ngobo himself labeled former spy boss Arthur Fraser's complaint about the concealment and of theft of forex from the president's Phala Phala farm as hearsay evidence. So how do these facts now interact in the defense of the president before the courts?
I think it's going to aid the president in this instance, because I don't think he even needs to change his affidavit, which was submitted earlier to the court when he goes and chooses another court if he decides to do so. He simply submits the same facts and simply says, you must be clear to my responsibilities and what I'm supposed to do as a president. Firstly, I want to absolve myself and say I was not part of the Phala Phala game farm in any particular matter. Let's remember Section 96 bars him from engaging in any other work than the work of the president. I was simply informed as an interested party, in which this case I fully participated. I then reported the matter to a person who I knew and identified as a police officer. If you take the nature of my work, I wouldn't have just walked into any police station and be able to present this particular matter. So as far as I'm concerned, I tried by all means to comply in merit with the obligations which are placed upon me. It is up to the law enforcement agencies to search and to do all that they can to be able to investigate this type of matters. If they fail to do so, then let's look to them whether they're able to do their jobs or not. But I, as the president, have not contravened any section, and I think even if you would go to any committee, we'll be able to deal with that particular matter. But from the litigation which is being mounted by the president, you're simply saying the manner in which the committee worked in is not in a manner in which allows Parliament to be able to take a decision at the end of the day. One may say the horse is already bolted because Parliament has already taken a decision on this matter, so it's not going to change anyways, unless Parliament takes a particular matter to court and says that the decision which was taken by parliamentarians, which is irrational based on the type of evidence which was presented upon them and the type of decision that they followed.
Mpumelelo, let me ask this question quickly. Another defense has been the panel erred in its outcome and is misdirected in its mind when it came to the abuse of public power or the abuse and oath of office, which we spoke to earlier on, saying proving it's a violation of the two concepts must meet the high standard to be confirmed in the positive and not merely on the strength of hearsay evidence. Please, unpack it for us in more accessible layman's terms.
So I think what they were saying is that don't take the recommendation of the panel because the complaint is based on hearsay evidence, and based on that they have arrived at a certain conclusion. But that's where that particular line of thinking is wrong. Now, the committee did not say who's innocent and who's guilty. It simply says we do not have the power to investigate further due to the limited powers that you have had earlier. Go and create another committee with much more stronger powers will be able to deal with these particular matters. When it comes to hearsay evidence here, the most strongest points and the most points that to rule or point towards the creation of another committee is the affidavit which has been submitted by the president. So it's the person who is in the center of this whole thing admitting to certain instances and certain occurrences of events have taken place. And those particular events, if you look at them, they do create a prima facie case of the constitution being contravened. So in order to absolve your name, allow the second committee to sit, to be able to interrogate you with much more powers and be able to clear your name.
All right, I really thank you for your time and the patience you've taken to just expand on some of those legal terms. The expert Mpumelelo Zikalala just unpacking what it means for President Cyril Ramaphosa, that statement released by SARS earlier on with regards to the Phala Phala